So welcome everyone to Fire Up Your Life for the new year. Very excited to have you. I'm Paula Harris of WH Cornerstone Investments, and we have a financial planning practice based in Massachusetts. We have a specialty in working with widows, and by chance, I got to meet Barbara Kenyon at the Modern Widows Club WE conference, Women Widow Empowerment event. They call it WE. So we were in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona in September. And I had the great pleasure of meeting Barbara. She came up to the booth that I had. She was actually one of the speakers there that day. And it was so exciting to have this really vibrant conversation very, very quickly. I was really impressed at how fast we connected. So Barbara was there. She is the author of this book, Fire Up Your Life Now. And we started to talk about, she was going to talk about some of the principles from her book at the program, as well as she was going to talk about, she has two businesses. She's a personal coach and a business and life coach. And she's also a widow dating coach, which is kind of fascinating. So when I first met Barbara, I have tremendous respect for you, Barbara, because your husband, Alan, had died 8 weeks before we met. It was a very sudden passing, and you had made the commitment to come speak at this conference, and you still honored it. And Barbara, this is actually the second time she was widowed. She was widowed after being married 9 years. She and her husband, Richard, had a 2-month-old, and he found out he had pancreatic cancer. And 8 months later, he passed away. So her whole life just shifted.
It was actually 8 weeks later.
8 weeks later, that's right, 8 weeks later, which is like hard to believe. And you learned about getting back into the world of dating at that point. You met the next love of your life, Alan, and you guys entered into business together in 1989. We share something in common. I work with my husband. Special people work with their husbands. It is not always easy to navigate, but it is a wonderful, rewarding relationship when you do. And you worked together up until the point that he had passed away earlier, I should say mid last year at this point. So Barbara's very accomplished. She's very warm, engaging. And I think what brings her so much success with her clients is, I would say, Barbara walks the talk. She lives a very integrated life where she takes care of herself. We were talking a little bit earlier, and I was telling you some of the things that were going on in my life, and you're like, are you learning to say no? And I think she has learned the art of saying no and putting self-care first, which is just a tremendous gift to have. So Barbara is Kenyon Coaching is her primary business, and then also her widowdating.com. So we're going to dive in today and talk about some ways to really fire up your new year. And so what I've done is I've taken some of the points from Barbara's book, and she and I are going to discuss them. So Barbara, one of the things that I think is so important is this something called the law of attraction. It's one of the first principles in the book. I would say that's the underlying message of how you move forward with these secrets. So you want to tell us a little bit more about the law of attraction?
Glad to. Thank you, Paula.
You're welcome.
I didn't invent the law of attraction. This book, The Secret, came out a number of years ago. A lot of you may be familiar with it. And the whole point was what you focus on, you get more of. That's the law of attraction. You want to, if you want good health in your world, you put your energy into that and figure out ways to make that come to be. If you want to create misery in your life, you focus on that, and you can be sure that more misery will find you, right? You'll start hanging around with people that make you miserable. You'll be saying yes when you want to say no, the whole thing. So simply, and that is like the Cliff's Notes version of what the law of attraction is all about. Simply what you focus on, you get more of.
It's very interesting. I've studied with Jack Canfield, which you have very familiar with a lot of his principles. He wrote Success Principles, and he also wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And he leads with the law of attraction too. He was in the movie The Secret, and I think one of the most interesting things I learned about the law of attraction, it works both ways for positive and negative. So one of the things he would say is if you're anti-war, you basically attract war. You should be pro-peace, which I thought was like a really interesting thing. So sometimes we fight things all the time and we end up attracting more of that in our lives and we don't realize why that's happening because our focus is going to the negative.
Absolutely. I've seen that happen when people are in employment situations and they're complaining about how rotten their boss is and how terrible their coworkers are. And it seems like the more they focus on that, the more horrible their workplace becomes. So, I invite them to just flip that around a little bit. I mean, it's not like magic. You have to do a little bit of the work yourself, but once you start really, it's just like gratitude and appreciation, which has become so popular. And I love starting Wednesday with that. Before you get out of bed in the morning, just think of 3 things that you're grateful for. And it's just a better day all the way around. So again, it's what you focus on, you get more of.
It's so true. And I think the power of the mind is absolutely incredibly powerful. And we forget that. We forget that that we actually get to control the thoughts, the beliefs that come into our head. And I think we tend to think, oh, it's someone else's responsibility. But it really, the buck stops with us.
It totally does. That's such an important point, and a lot of people don't get that. I have a daughter that is struggling right now. She's a competitive equestrian, and her horse is having some issues. And we've only owned him for like 9 months, and he's going through all of these different tests and stuff. And she's saying, "I have this terrible horse. I got a lemon. This is the end of my career." She's throwing the baby in with the bathwater kind of thing. And I said, "Lighten up, honey. Just why don't you just hang on to this positive thought until somebody proves you wrong?"
That's so true. And I think the energy she's putting out, that negative energy, the horse is going to react to that.
I know.
And she's going to continue to have that friction with the horse. And are you familiar with Ho'oponopono?
Yes, absolutely. I do it.
Okay.
I say it every single day. I write it down every day. I've been doing it for years, many years.
So this was not something we even planned to talk about, but do you want to explain what Ho'oponopono is? Because I've been trying to practice it more recently.
Why don't you go ahead and take it away, because you did a good job with it.
Okay, so Ho'oponopono is I guess it's a teaching from a Hawaiian doctor, psychologist, maybe, if I got this correct. And he worked in a mental institution in Hawaii. And these people were the worst of the worst. I mean, it was just a really bad place. And he started practicing Ho'oponopono, and everything changed. And he never, ever met with any one of the prisoners individually. And he was all about what he called self-cleaning. So he would say, and people, I think, reorder this maybe a little bit.
Right.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I love you. And it's funny, I had heard it, my chiropractor has that in her office, and she taught it to me early on. And I'm having some situations in life, and I realized, okay, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'm so sorry that happened. Please forgive me. I didn't know. I love you. And when you keep using those phrases, you basically are cleaning yourself. And when we're clean, we then reflect back better energy to the world, which allows other people to clean themselves. So using the example of the horse, if your daughter is cleaning her own energy, it clears the horse's energy as well. And then they have a chance to actually repair their relationship and work together forward. Is that how you understand things?
Yes, absolutely. Every morning when I get up, I write those 4 sentences down. I have a different order of them, but it doesn't matter. Same.
What's your order?
I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. So, same idea.
Yep.
And I just sort of do it routinely. If it ain't broken, don't fix it, kind of thing.
Yep.
So I've been writing it down for a long time. And so I have a lot of different rituals that I do, and I just think that they all contribute. Like, I'm a lifelong meditator. And I was just telling somebody today, I've been meditating every morning of my life for the last 47 years, and I haven't missed a day yet. and I'm not that disciplined of a human being. So it's just that it just feels good to do it. And somebody said, why don't you just take a day off? I thought, are you kidding? Break that record?
I couldn't break that streak. Well, what does meditation look? Meditation's, I think, a wonderful thing. We hear about it all the time, but it's very intimidating for a lot of people. So would you share what your meditation practice is?
Absolutely. And it is intimidating. It was in 1975, October 4th, 1975. I remember the day well. And there was a lecture on transcendental meditation. It was very big at that time. The Beatles were doing it, and some of these notable people. So I went to the lecture, and there was this guy named Steve, and he was as mellow as they come. I was in college, it was a very young time in my life. And I wanted to be like Steve. I wasn't anything like Steve. So he said, here's how you do it. We will assign you a mantra, which is a Sanskrit word. And there's this whole little ritual that goes along with it. I had to go to this house and show up with a flower and a handkerchief. And they quietly gave me the mantra that I'm not supposed to tell anybody. It's a sound I've never heard before. And that is my vehicle to tranquility. That's my form of meditation. I sit in a chair. And I sit there for about 30 seconds, and then I start thinking my mantra on my exhale. Whenever I exhale, I say the mantra in my mind. I've taught many people how to do this, not using my mantra, but just using their own word. And in the beginning, I could do it for about, a good 60 seconds. And then I was done. I started getting ants in my pants, and I wanted to get up there. And it was sort of a group effort. And they said, don't fight it. Don't be hard on yourself. Thoughts are going to come. If all of a sudden you're figuring out your grocery list for the day, whatever it is you're doing, just allow that to be. And then as soon as you recognize you're not where you want to be, gently bring yourself back to the mantra, and then continue it. And as I said in the beginning, it was really tough, but I just stayed with it. And I did it twice a day because that's what they recommended. And Steve had been doing it twice a day for 7 years, and he had never missed a day. And I wanted to be Steve. So for the next 13 years, I was Steve, and I never miss. And then when my second child was born, it was like complete pandemonium in my house. And I couldn't really get that second one in very often, but I never gave up the first. I said, you guys, clear the deck. Everybody let's mom do this. So if any of you are interested in meditating, just by show of hands, if any of you had an interest in meditating, but you're intimidated by it, anybody? Not? Oh, one hand. Okay. Well, I'm going to just share very quickly the system, if you don't mind my taking the time to do that.
No.
Come up with a word that brings you a smile. Just any, I like 2-syllable words. You could start there, like sunshine, sunshine is a really good word. So just for the sake of this very brief introduction to it, imagine you sitting yourself in a chair. Best time to do it is before you eat. They don't recommend doing it right after you eat because you'll fall right asleep. And first thing in the morning is great. And then as you exhale, imagine saying sunshine, just in your mind. And give that a go for a couple minutes, and then call it good. And then sit in the chair for another 30 seconds without talking sunshine, and get up and start your day. And you've just meditated. That's it. People think meditation is really complicated, but oftentimes, when you brush your teeth and you go in the kitchen, did I brush my teeth? You could have been meditating while you were doing that, and you just didn't realize it. It's sort of like losing where you are and just sort of relaxing the mind in some way. I've had people that do this little sunshine technique for a couple of minutes. The goal ultimately would be to go for a full 20 minutes. But you have to be really loving and gentle with yourself, and whatever you do is perfect.
That's awesome. And thank you for explaining how simple it is, because again, we do over complicate things. And I think part of Margot just said that they call it the practice of meditation because it is a practice. We're not perfect at it. And it's something that you just keep doing, and it's not something that you're trying to perfect. And I think in our world, we measure so much against perfection when we just need to keep having progress.
Very good point. I'm, after 47 years, I think I'm pretty close to perfection. I close my eyes, and within a nanosecond, the 20 minutes are gone. It's not 25 and it's not 15. It's just like my body just knows when you're done.
You're not setting a timer.
Yeah, that's what happens. And people have commented that I have a really good memory. I've heard this a lot, and I do believe I have a good memory. I can remember lots of things, and many things, conversations, details, lots of stuff. And I have to credit this meditation. They say that gives you access to the brain that a lot of people you don't tap into. And it's just, so I got to be getting some benefit off of it.
I was going to say that is inspiration alone to start meditating, as many of our brains get a little jumbly, and we want to make sure that we don't end up with some form of dementia or Alzheimer's. So that's a good advertisement for meditating. That's really, would you attribute any other morning success, any morning ritual to maybe your overall success in life, however you define success?
With the risk of boring all of you with all of my routines, I'll share a few more. I get up every morning and then I do my meditation for 20 minutes. Then I go to my little journal. I write the Ho'oponopono. That's how I pronounce it. The way I say this is slightly different, but anyway. Okay. And then I drink a big green smoothie that would nauseate half of you to take a look at it, but it's just oh good. It's like 24 ounces of this thing that I mix all green stuff with: spinach, broccoli, celery, parsley, cucumber, water. And down the hatch it goes with some avocado, with some fat and stuff. And that's also part of my routine that I've been doing for years. And people say, "You do that for breakfast?" I eat a bagel and cream cheese. And you got to try this. And then I take some nutritional supplements. I'm not on any medication of any kind, and I'm really proud of that. And then I do some physical activity. I have this dog. I could show you what he looks like, but I think he looks like a little. He's my little 10-pound poodle. And then we go for a walk, and I do like a 30-minute power walk every day. And I really think that's a form of meditation as well, because I lose myself and I think, did I take that cul-de-sac or not? I don't. It's sort of routine to me. And then I get on with my day. So that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you're getting up early then.
And the other thing that I do throughout the day is, just like Paula said, we're talking about no being a complete sentence. When you've been widowed twice and you're focused on, as a life coach, helping people live their very best life, I like to set that example for myself. And so it becomes very easy for me to say no and be very conscious of what I want in my world and what I don't.
That's awesome. Well, I have to say, I would say 5 days a week, I start my day with a green smoothie as well. I do add a little fruit though, but I got the spinach, I got the cucumber, I've got green apple, avocado, ginger, water, and now I'm starting to put collagen in as well. So it is pretty good. It's beyond pretty good. It's excellent. So that's great. So, we want to set ourselves up in this new year to attract what we want, and don't attract what we don't want. So we have to let go of those negative thoughts. The next principle from your book, secret from your book, that I wanted to bring up was, fear is not to be feared. And one of the most interesting things I heard was the word fear: false evidence appearing real. Talk a little bit about how fear can derail our lives and what fear means. And
that's such an important question, Paula. I heard somebody say not so long ago that everything we want in life is on the other side of fear. And there are so many people, as you said, false evidence appearing real, that resist a challenge, whatever it might be. I do a lot of dating coaching. It's a big chunk of my life coaching, and talk about fear. It's the scariest thing in the world when you have not been on a date for decades or whatever, and then you think about re-entering that arena. But I have a way to help people reframe it, so it takes the scariness out of it, which I can address if you want. But the bigger point you're asking me is about fear in general. 90% fear and worry kind of go hand in hand, so I'd like to just couple that together. 90% of the things we worry about in life never come to be, and the other 10% we'll handle, because we are all strong, capable, beautiful women, and we know we've got the stuff. So once you can kind of reframe the things you're afraid of and really explore what is the fear, start asking yourself the bigger questions. Why am I afraid of this? And whatever answer you have, and what does that mean? What does that mean? And try to break it down to its smallest part. And oftentimes the fear that we have in life is because of some childhood thing, some bad experience we had when we were younger, and we haven't done the work to move beyond that. I work with clients who are in their 60s, and they deal with fear, and they're really successful people, but they always have this little glitch where they can't move forward. So I'm like, Dr. Phil, how's that working for you? And they say, not that great. And I said, well, let's get to the bottom of this, and why, what's preventing you from moving forward. In coach training, I was taught this sentence: that was then, and this is now. It was okay up until yesterday that you were locked in this mindset of always being afraid and not being willing to take a risk, because what happens? What if this happens? What will people think? All the kinds of things that prevent us from moving forward. And as I say, when people say, what will people think? My favorite quote, Ethel Barrett: we would worry less about what people think of us if we realize how seldom they do.
Yeah.
And believe me, I have put that to the test many times when I've said something stupid, and then I just beat myself up about it the whole night, because I can't believe that came out of my mouth. It's like toothpaste out of a tube. You can't put it back in. Once it comes out, it's just there. And then I remember one time in particular, I was at an event and I said something, and I came home, I told Alan, my husband, what I'd said. He said, oh, forget about it. I said, I can't. It's really eating at me. So the next day I called one of the guys who heard me, and I said, I'm so embarrassed about what I said yesterday. And he said, well, what'd you say?
I had no idea.
He didn't know. He didn't care.
Right.
No, neither did anybody else, because you know what? They're more focused on what they said, how stupid they think they sounded.
That is so true. And we definitely over focus, and we just start to make ourselves nuts. And Eleanor Roosevelt has a great quote: do the thing you fear the most, and the death of fear is certain. I mean, some things I did a couple of years ago, I did some Tony Robbins programs, and I did the fire walk. I mean, I never wanted to walk on fire. It was never like something I was craving to do. And I also did this 60-foot telephone pole climb that he does at another one of his programs. Again, I don't really like heights, and not something I really wanted to do, but it was part of the program. And I knew that by addressing it, it just, it changes your whole persona. And now, before I get out of bed, I always say I am a fire walker, I'm a pole climber, and the other one I say is I'm a Contact Creek fisherman. There's a place in remote Alaska called Contact Creek that the first time I went to Alaska, I flew in there on a little puddle jumper, and we were with wild bears. I mean, like all around while we were fishing, and testing the fears. It was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Like, you just realize like how much stronger you are. And you can see when fear is holding someone back, they're not living their full life. And that's just so sad. So I want to encourage people to let go of fear so you can fully embrace the life you're meant to live.
That's such a good point. And so many people are so fearful of letting go of fear. But I always like to use the analogy of a rubber band. You take a rubber band and you stretch it, and it'll never go back to its original shape. And that's exactly how people are after they've walked through a fire or two.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. Like, you don't want to stay stagnant. You want to keep evolving and growing.
No, and you don't want to have fear be the reason that you're not moving forward in your life.
Yep.
Yeah. And oftentimes the distance between fear and no more fear is very short. You just take that one step. Just take that one step.
And it's true. And it doesn't have to be big steps. It's just one little action item.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that I learned so much is it's just take some action. And if it's not perfect action, take a different action. And if that's not right, take a different action, and it's okay. But staying stagnant is worse.
Absolutely. It's the analogy that I heard recently. When you see a little child just learning to walk, they get up, they fall down on their bottom. They take another step, they fall down on their bottom. Do it again. But at no point do they say, this walking thing is really not for me.
I give up. I'm just going to stay here the rest of my life.
Stay with it. It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
It only hurts for a little teeny bit.
That's right.
Do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
The next secret from your book is that I really like is ignite your sense of humor. So to the point where you're saying, oh my gosh, I was so in my head worried about what I said at this, and I called up and, oh, nobody even knew. So like if we come from a place with more humor in our life, how does humor transform us?
Humor is everything. Literally, when you laugh, you release certain hormones in your body, the feel-good hormones. And people say to me sometimes, well, what am I supposed to laugh about? My life is miserable right now. And I say, just laugh anyway. Force the laughter. There's something called laughter yoga. There's
Yes.
where you literally laugh. Just force yourself to laugh. And it really makes a difference. In the workshop that I did at the conference, I told people to look up at the ceiling and put on the biggest grin that you can. And whether, and don't worry about who's looking at you because you're all doing the same thing. And then I said, and then think about something you're really worried about. Keep that grin up while you're looking at the ceiling, but worry, grin, worry, grin. And nobody could do it, of course, because those are incompatible emotions. You can't do them both at the same time. So at any point in your life, when you are worried about something, take a look at this. Just go stare at the ceiling with the biggest grin you can and keep that grin there. That's a recipe for success right there.
I like that. I had forgotten, even though I sat through your session, I forgot about that. And I've got a lot going on in my life these days. And as I'm sitting here smiling and grinning, I can feel it all letting go. It's like, it's so true. I think it's the antidote to the stress that we all carry around. Because I think too many of us, we wear our shoulders as earrings. And we just walk around like, I'm busy, I'm stressed. And there's a comedy show that we went to a couple months ago. I mean, like that laughter, like you said, the laughter yoga. I mean, when your stomach starts to hurt, I mean, you're truly exercising like your whole body when you can get into those like really big belly laughs, and it just releases so much. And like, think about the tears that can roll down like from the laughing, and you just can't stop, and it becomes contagious, like person to person. If we need more laughter in our lives, in our world.
Absolutely. And the fact that we can create it ourselves, even if there's nothing funny, just by faking it.
Yeah.
That's a powerful bit of information to know.
There's two quotes you use in the book that I love is 7 days without laughter makes 1 week. And that was a quote of Mort Walker. And I think that's great. It's true. When we don't exercise that muscle, you become weak. You're not your full self. And then the other one is for every 60 seconds of anger, you lose 1 minute of happiness. And that was Ralph Waldo Emerson. And that's so true. Like, why do we let our emotions or other people's actions steal our happiness? So
it sounds so easy when you say that, Paula, but the reality is that we get caught into these routines.
Yep.
And they're hard to break until you can just own it, take a look at it in a bigger way, come outside yourself and say, look at that lady right there. She's a worried mess. Does she need to be that way? How's that working for her? Is there another option here?
So do you actually kind of have people role play with themselves? Like
I have every kind of technique you can imagine. Yeah. I've been doing this for 30 some years. I got
You've got mail.
I'm sorry.
That's one of your techniques too.
Yeah, I've got a variety of techniques that I help people use, and it's wonderful when people say, "Oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that before." Yeah. And there's so many things that we didn't think about until we thought about them, and then people beat themselves up about that, and they say, "Gosh, I wish I'd known that 10 years ago." And I said, "Well, don't go there. Just celebrate the fact you know it today, and not 10 years from now."
Right. True.
Never too late to turn a corner.
That is very true. It's never too late to learn something new, to make the decision to move forward and not stay stuck where you are. I think those are all great lessons. Another one of your secrets in your book that I love is appreciation makes the difference. And Mary Kay Ash was a quote you have from her. Everyone has an invisible sign hanging from their neck saying, "Please help me feel important." We all want to be appreciated. So talk a little bit more about appreciation.
Appreciation is everything. And I think that I took the Dale Carnegie training Did any of you do that?
I-
Or you
I
did?
did too.
Familiar with it? He wrote the famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, 100 years ago. And every self-help book in the world, including mine, has some of Dale Carnegie's stuff in it. But one of his basic points was that people crave appreciation. They crave it. And it's the reason they do the things that they do. A lot of, people, even charitable kinds of things that people do, they do it because it's a good thing to do, but it's also the good feeling that they get as a result of doing it. And I put that to the test myself early on when, as Paula had mentioned, I was widowed the first time when my baby was only 4 months old. And then I remarried Alan 5 years later. So I was a single mom for those years. And my mother, who was a force to be reckoned with, used to say to me, my son Jordan has attention deficit disorder. And if you've ever been around an ADD, or it's, a lot of energy going on there all the time. They're like in constant motion. Mother said to me when Jordan was about 4, you know what, Barbara, you ought to get Jordan into Taekwondo. You ought to get, your cousins are in that. It's going to be a game changer. Taekwondo. I just didn't, it was just one more thing that I had to drive them across town, whatever. And I resisted. So every time I talked on the phone with her mother, she lived, 500 miles away. Same thing. Did you look into that Taekwondo? I said, no, I didn't. And that was it. And then finally, when I met Alan and I told him this scenario, he says, why are you resisting that? This could be a really good thing for Jordan. And so I thought, well, you're right. I guess I was being a little stubborn. I pursued it for Jordan. It was a wonderful thing. And then every time I would talk to my mother, because she was sort of like overbearing, I would say to her, I would lead with that. Thanks so much, Mom. This did not come out of my mouth easily in the beginning, but I got better. I said, thanks so much for suggesting Taekwondo. It has been wonderful for Jordan. And he just earned his, this belt, that belt. And I led every conversation with that. That gave her a feeling of importance. And my relationship with my mother changed forever as a result. So if you can get out of your stubbornness, like I finally was able to do, and be able to give people that feeling of appreciation, it has to be sincere, and it was sincere. But I did lead with it also because I just could see the benefit my mother got.
Yeah.
If you are in a strained relationship with any member of your family or a friend, and you wanted to improve, that's a very quick recipe for helping them to feel important. It just needs everything.
It's so true. And I think you're right. Our stubbornness it prevents us from moving forward and deepening that relationship to have a positive result instead of that constant friction. So I think that's a great point. One of the things when I studied with Jack Canfield, he had us do a rampage of appreciation, or an appreciation rampage. Are you familiar with this at all?
Not that term. Tell me what.
Okay. So he said, okay, I'm going to have you take a break. And for the next 10 minutes, I want you to walk around this room. We're in a hotel, go out in the hall, and you're just going to say, thank you and appreciate everything. Oh, I appreciate this carpet. It's so soft. I appreciate the color in the carpet. Oh, I appreciate the people that made the carpet. I appreciate the people who installed the carpet. I appreciate that I have something clean and soft to walk on. I appreciate my shoes that are getting me around. Oh, I appreciate my legs. And when you start to just literally appreciate everything, I appreciate the bird that flew by, the wind in my face. And again, it becomes very hard to not feel great, to be lifted up and smile and feel joyful. And instead of looking for the negative, looking to find what's wrong, you look to find all the things that are going right and that you can appreciate. And it's really powerful. And one year we actually played the appreciation game in our Thanksgiving card that we send out to the company. And we had people say, write down 5 things that you appreciate. And I just thought it was a neat way to do something a little different, to get, again, I think we get so caught up in negativity. And I swore off TV probably 9 or 10 years ago. And I also, I am a big advocate of not watching the news. If you want to get news, read it somewhere, listen to it, but visually seeing the news they choose which images go in front of your face. And as someone said to me the other day, it's tell a vision. They're telling you the vision they want you to have.
Oh, wow.
And it is TV programming because it is programming you to see it a certain way. And so I have been spending more time at my parents' house, and the news is on a lot. And it's like, wow, in 1 hour, I've heard this story 4 times. And so so stepping away and learning to appreciate things as opposed to filling your life with what someone else wants you to either think about, react to. And it's just really important to say, wow, I appreciate something different. And I don't know if you have a gratitude practice.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I do. And it's also part, I guess I forgot to talk about that in my morning routine with all
Yep.
the things I do, but absolutely. And I went to a workshop with Louise Hay for a week, and she was talking, and it was just such a wonderful thing. And she was talking about, rather than saying the word appreciate, just thank you. And she was talking about how she gets in the shower and she thanks the water for cleansing her body, and just all part of her days, every single thing. Thank you. You just can't overdo that.
Yeah.
And you just have a better day because that becomes your focus.
It's
Again,
such,
the law of attraction.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know who said it, but thank you is a perfect prayer. It's enough just saying thank you. And it really is. It is, it is a prayer if you keep repeating it, and it just, it just makes you so happy. I have a daily devotional of Mother Teresa, and it's 1 or 2 sentences every day. And the amount of things that woman was thankful for. And I think most of us know she did not live in a place where you would be thankful for much. But there was recently a movie out about her that the Knights of Columbus put out, and the joy, there is not a human being that radiates that much joy. And she just lived with such gratitude and appreciation and thankfulness. And it's like, wow, how do we just be a little bit more like that? It's really, really amazing.
I think it's important to keep that in mind and also be gentle with yourself, because a lot of times, a lot of us are perfectionists. Well, I got that wrong, so I guess that's not going to work for me. So I'll go back to that negative place. That's familiar. So whatever you do is good.
Yeah.
It's good enough. It's good enough.
And I think the other phrase that I try to use a lot is I'm doing the best I can with what I have at the moment, what I know, what I have. And I'll just share my gratitude practice. I try to do, before I fall asleep, 3 things I'm grateful for today. And then when I wake up, 3 things I'm grateful for, and trying not to pick the same things. So it kind of helps you reflect on your day, come up with, some highlights, and then, thankful, something different always pops up in the morning. It's like, that's not the same thing you went to sleep with. And, usually comes, I do use this one a lot. I'm so grateful that I woke up today. So that's a pretty powerful thing.
Absolutely.
And just gonna go on a quick little tangent. Everybody might not know who Louise Hayes is. Louise Hay, I mean, do you want to just give a little bit of background?
Yes, she's no longer alive, but she lived a good long life, and she was a what is the right word? What is the right word? She was essentially like a life coach before it was a healer, like a natural type healer. And she wrote a book, really, it was more like a pamphlet. She'd been working with a lot of AIDS patients, and this was really long time ago, maybe in the 70s or maybe longer ago than that. And it's I'm at a loss. Heal your life.
Okay.
How to heal your life? I'm not doing Louise Hay justice in how I'm describing who she is. Any of you familiar with her or follow her books or whatever? No.
She's
Anyway.
She's definitely a guru.
Yeah, and she was just this beautiful, gentle soul. There's another life coach named Cheryl Richardson, and she and Louise Hay teamed up and did a lot of workshops and things together. And when I found out that they were going to Arizona and putting on this workshop for a week for 100 women, the first 100 women that signed up from around the globe, and I called my sister and I said, we're going to this thing, because Cheryl Richardson was the keynote speaker at the first coach convention that I went to. And she's written a lot of really good books about just in so many things about living your best life. And the two of them, it was a transformational week for me, kind of like your Tony Robbins thing, walking through
Yeah,
fire, same kind of thing. And they just exuded this amount of joy and peace and love.
that's awesome. I
Yeah,
have to say, when I first learned about coaching in the early 2000s, it was Cheryl Richardson was the person that I probably heard about the most, and she is from Massachusetts.
that's
If
right.
people don't know, she's from the North Shore of Massachusetts, so that's kind of exciting. So I want to move on, to a different one of your secrets. So we're at the beginning of the year. We're all revved up. We're creating those lists. We're doing, some of the folks here know we've been doing picking 3 words to help us guide our year, or some people do 1 word, some people do resolutions, but we're fired up. We're doing all this stuff. But you've got a secret called the power of slowing down. And I know it's something that I need to learn more about. And I actually, a friend of mine named Aparna, and we were in a mastermind group together, and she said, we're talking about what are we going to do this weekend, and she said, I'm going to relax. And I said, what does that look like for you? And she said, I'm going to sit. And I was like, you're just going to sit? She's like, yes, I'm just going to sit. And I was like, I honestly don't understand that. So one of the lessons, and maybe this is why I chose this one to talk about, is the power of slowing down. So talk to us a little bit more about that.
I think you did a good job right there. It is all about taking a breath. We have, we start our days and we have these big long to-do lists and trying to get everything done before we can crash and burn in bed at night. Can all of you relate to that? And when the life coach Barbara Kenyon comes around and says, why don't you take a little bit of time and just do nothing? Like, really? What would I do? I don't know how to do nothing. And it is a foreign concept because we're just busy people. So if this is falling foreign to you and you want to think about how you can really maximize that concept, schedule it. Pick out 30 minutes out of your day, put it down like you're going to go get a root canal, something that you really have to stay with. And for those 30 minutes, just do nothingness. Even if it's just sitting on the couch, whatever nothingness is to you, but really with nothing, no cell phones around, no nothing, just smell the roses, literally. And a lot of people really struggle with that concept because it's just foreign to them. But it's like anything else in life. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And the minute you take that step, it can be transformational. Just breathe. Or do that meditation that I taught you with, sunshine. Try that for a few minutes and just be really gentle with yourself. And then as soon as those thoughts start coming in your mind, and they will, especially if you're not used to doing nothing, like, you better go, sweep out the garage or whatever it is, get that laundry out of the dryer, whatever it is, and just say, no, this is my time. This is my time. And be gentle with yourself. That's if there's one thing I impart on all of my clients, it's be gentle with yourself and lighten up. I know that at the end, you're going to probably ask me, what's your final message you want to give? I'll give you a sneak preview of what it is right now. Be gentle with yourself and lighten up. And, oftentimes the way we talk to ourselves, I know this is not about taking time off, but nonetheless, a lot of times we have a lot of chatter going on all the time. I saw some statistic recently about how many words go through our brain in any given day. It would blow your head off how many it is. I don't remember the number, but it was a lot. So we do all this kind of talk to ourselves. And the point being, just be gentle with yourself. When you catch yourself doing that, like, oh, Barbara, you better go take care of this. You better do that. You better whatever it is. Just offer that little voice a cup of tea and send it on its way. And just say, nope, this is my time. And I'm going to do nothingness because I deserve it. Add that little detail to it because I deserve it.
And you didn't use the word should, but often we always say, oh, I should be doing, I should be. And the phrase is stop shoulding on yourself, because we do put that unbelievable pressure and we do need to let that go. It's so true.
And you have to realize that it didn't come from no place. I mean, we probably had moms or dads or somebody who taught us all of that, to work harder, work better, stay busy, all that kind of stuff. And so then when one day you wake up and say, no, I don't want to do any of that stuff anymore.
Yep.
I'm in control here. I'm in the driver's seat. I'm going to lighten up and be gentle with myself. And then if it doesn't work well for you the first time, well, have a do-over the next day. You always get do-over time.
Which is just perfect. It's so true. And then the next one I'm going to sort of morph into here, which is the magic of letting go, which probably dovetails nicely to the one we just talked about. So a quote that I'll just read here is, we must be willing to let go so as to accept the life that is waiting for us. I think so many hold on to what it should be or what it was. Talk a little bit about letting go.
I just pulled it up in my book. This book that I wrote with my late husband is every chapter is only 3 pages long because nobody had long attention spans, and we wanted to make in our family. We want to make sure they got through the whole book. So, it says the magic of letting go. Letting go of the feeling of fear will leave you with courage. Letting go of the feeling of doubt will leave you with confidence. Letting go of the feeling of stress will leave you with peace. And letting go of the feeling of sadness will leave you with happiness. I think, as I'm reading that word confidence, I know that is another area that people struggle with at any given moment. Their confidence gets shaken, and that's one of the reasons why they don't move forward. Not just what will people think of me, but what will I think of myself, and what happens if I fail? Do I really have what it takes to do this? And all those kinds of words. And where does confidence come from? Would you like to know the secret of how to get more of it, anybody?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's not complicated. All my principles are easy. They really are easy. They take some time to do, but they're easy. Think of a time. I'd like you all to do this little exercise. Think of a time in your life where you were faced with a challenge and you thought to yourself, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. No way. And somehow you did. By a show of hands, does anything come to, you don't have to tell what your story is, but does anybody? Great. The more you think about this, the more you'll probably come up with something, even if it's riding a bicycle. I mean, I skinned both of my knees repeatedly. It's a wonder I ever got back on that bike, but somehow I became a bike rider. So, it's the bigger point of this little exercise is to bring that into your memory and think about what enabled you to accomplish that thing that you were unable to do initially. And typically the answer is something like perseverance, stubbornness, something along that line. And then today, you are very much that person that you were back then. So the next time you are in a situation where you're feeling like you need a little more confidence, you're feeling a little bit inadequate, a little bit stupid, a little bit fill in the adjective of a negative sort, you can instantly replace that with that memory that you just brought to the fore of what you did because of your skill set, perseverance. And that is a really powerful tool to have. A lot of times we forget, it's so easy to remember all the crapola that we did in our life, the bad stuff that we did, the things we're embarrassed about or whatever, our failures in life. And it's not as easy to remember all of our skills and all of the wonderful things about us. So I might invite you to flip that around a little bit and keep in mind that kind of stuff. When I work with clients, one of the first questions I ask them is, tell me, describe yourself with the 12 best adjectives that you can think of that would describe you. And they'll say, well, and then they get stuck after about 2 or 3. It's a very awkward request. And we're not programmed to think in those terms. So when you get off the call with me today, write down 12 things that you are really proud of with yourself. Really, your strengths. Your strengths in terms of adjectives, like I'm kind, or I'm generous, or I'm thoughtful, or I'm, organized, or whatever it is, just a dozen of those things. And remind yourself about that. So, and that would be another thing when your confidence is shaken, go read those, because that's exactly who you are. And people oftentimes say to me, I'm really struggling with this, Barbara, but if you asked me to list 12 of the things that I'm really horrible at or bad words, I could give you 100 of those.
Isn't that terrible that we're so hard on ourselves?
Yeah. But we don't have to be, because that was then. Today,
Right.
today's a new day. You can be that new
And
person today.
we have new knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think the trick to all of this is taking action with what you've learned. It's great. We can just collect it and keep it in a paper bag, but it's not meant to be staying there. It's meant to be out and used, and so that we can evolve and grow.
That's right.
That's so true. So we're going to let go of fear and doubt and stress and frustration, so we can make room for that happiness and peace and confidence. I love it. But it is not easy.
And once again, be gentle with yourself, because if you've had, 30 years or 40, 50, 60, 70 years of not letting go of that stuff, it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
It
And
is
that's where I think it's helpful to have somebody like you. Like we often need the guide. It's hard to do it all on our own. We read the book. Okay, that was great, but who's going to be my accountability partner in this? Who's going to make I keep moving forward? And I think that's where, in my world, in helping people with their finances, you may have the knowledge, but you just don't do it. And people now have the knowledge, but the coach, having the coach helps you. And as I said, Tiger Woods had a coach. It's like great athletes have coaches. You just want to keep getting that a little bit better. It's just a wonderful resource, which is terrific.
The accountability is huge because it's so easy to slip. That's why New Year's resolutions don't work. People make New Year's resolutions on January 1st, and by January 10th, where did I put that piece of paper? What did I say I was going to do?
Yep.
Same old, same old, same old. That's why my career as a life coach has evolved into something so magical, because, I hold people accountable. And, that expression, that quote that I really like, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. Or the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and, expecting a different result. And that's typically what happens. We're well-intentioned. And then, 6 months later, where are we?
Yep.
Stuck in a rut.
And I think we tend to think we'll throw the whole year away, as opposed to today's a new day.
Yes. And that's right. I think that you can always, even if you blew the first, today's the 12th of January, even if you blew the first 12 days, well, guess what? You can have a do-over tomorrow.
That's so true.
And if 2 days later you blow it, well, as my daughter, who's the horsewoman, you just get right back on that horse.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Well, one of the last secrets that I pulled out to talk about is all about attitude, having the right attitude. Winston Churchill said, attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. And I see that with people, and people say, I can never do this, I can never do that. I'm like, well, you never will, because you've already made up your mind. You've declared it. So talk a little bit more about how you see attitude playing into all this.
Well, it's very much the quote by Henry Ford. If you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. Attitude is absolutely everything. And if you don't have a change of attitude and you embark on something new, you're probably going to fail, because, again, you're going to be in that same stuck place. I have a plaque in my office that I'm staring at right now, and it says, expect to win. It's a funny thing about life. If you refuse to accept anything but the best, you very often get it. And I totally live by those words. I was lucky in that my dad saw life through rose-colored glasses. He just was wired that way, and I inherited that. And so it's effortless for me to maintain a positive attitude. I don't have to work at that. I was very lucky in that way. My sister didn't get that. She got more from my mother's side of the family. So there it is.
Yep.
It's all about winning or losing the parent lottery, and we don't all win that thing. But that doesn't mean that we have to, remain in that place. You can change your attitude in a moment.
Yep.
By just feeding your brain a different sentence. Then I'll share just something on a personal note. As Paula mentioned, I have been widowed again, and after 33 years of marriage, and I do a lot of dating coaching, and I've been working with people all different ages, 20s, 30s, 50s. My oldest client was 82 so far, and they are all freaked out about dating. By the way, just so you know, the idea of dating again. May I go here for a second, Paula?
Sure.
The idea of dating is a freak out experience. I don't care how confident you are as a human being. Dating is a whole different category. And all of a sudden, when you think about it, you become 16 years old and a nervous teenage wreck. And you start thinking about thoughts like, is he going to like me? Did I look pretty in this dress? Did I say something stupid? All these kinds of things. And just to level the playing field here, I have worked with some of the most successful women and men who were, corporate, big people. But the minute they thought about dating, they said, I just have heart palpitations. So my new way of framing it, and this was not mine, I'm stealing it from another dating coach, but I've been using it for many years because it's so good. And it is, think of yourself, don't think of it as dating. Think of yourself as being the CEO of your universe, and you're hiring an intern. You're interviewing an intern. How scary is it to interview somebody? We've all interviewed somebody in our life or something or another. That's not even a little bit scary. So then it no longer becomes, does he like me? All that teenage stuff. All that matters is, do you like him or her? And if you don't like that person, end of story, done. And that, whoa, I never thought about it like that. So I encourage my dating people to two things: to maintain that level of confidence, or if you don't have it, just go get some more. Think about that thing. Think about that thing you did that you could barely do, and keep that in your back pocket, and be able to convince yourself that you are a beautiful, strong, gorgeous woman, and you have everything that it takes to live your very best life. And that includes finding a new life partner if that is something that you desire. And it will come true, because I have 100% track record with my clients, because they develop that attitude and then they just stay. The other part of it is stay to the finish, because there are some bumps along the road. And here I am at my old age, and I really believe that there is going to be another chapter or two for me in my life. I don't know where it's going to happen or exactly how it's going to happen, but without question, I choose to have that happen, and there'll be no settling, because heck, who wants to sell out and settle? You want somebody wonderful in your life, or else why bother? And I do believe that it's out there for me, because I have that attitude, and I will manifest it to the law of attraction. I'm not ready yet. I've only been widowed 5 months, but I have to, at my age, you have to kind of fast forward when you've already been widowed before. I kind of know the drill. So, anyway.
Again, like you said, attitude is everything, and law of attraction, you will manifest what you want. One other thing, the first time I ever heard it was at Tony Robbins, and I've heard it plenty of times since then, is everything in your life that happens is a gift. When you start to see it's life not happening to you, it's happening for you, and everything that happens is a gift. Boy, does that change things too. It's not something easy to land on a lot of people, but it's like, wow, there's a blessing in everything that happens. And the trick is to be looking for it.
You said a mouthful there, Paula.
Yeah. Well, what, you gave a little preview. What secrets did we not talk about that you want to talk about?
Oh my gosh. Oh goodness. I think what I would like to do, if I may, is read the opening quote of this book, because it pretty much summarizes the whole book. And I love this quote. Hold on. Pull it up. Mike Dooley. He said, the number one reason most people don't start what they want to start is because they think their little, simple efforts won't even dent the mountain they wish to move. But little do they know that's exactly how the mountain was formed. I love that, because I work with people who live in cluttered houses. They have a lot of clutter in their house, in their car, their garage, their head, and they want to get rid of all that stuff, but they don't know where to begin, because they go into overwhelm. And I quote that quote, and I always say, start with a drawer. If you want to start organizing your house, take the smallest drawer you can find in your house, open that drawer up, take everything out of that drawer, and have 3 bags next to it. 1 bag is to toss, 1 bag is to give away, and 1 bag is to put back in the drawer. And just do that with that 1 drawer. And then the bag you're going to toss, just make sure you toss it. Don't put it back. And the bag you're going to give away, keep it somewhere so you won't put it back in. And that's how it all begins. You know, again, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. I did a workshop one time and I addressed the clutter thing. And one lady raised her hand. She said, my whole house is a freaking mess. There's just clutter absolutely every place. I don't even know when to begin. And I said to her, when you go home tonight, I just told her what I told you about the drawer. And I said, you email me as soon as you're done with that drawer. And she did. And then she became like my best friend. And then she could, you know, she did another drawer and another drawer. In the course of a year, she got her whole house picture perfect. Every single thing. She said, I don't know, I don't own an extra toothpick that I don't want. It was just that perfect. And she would have never believed that. And she liked the accountability that I enabled her to have. I got all these emails. And so that's where it all begins. Find somebody that you can report to and break it in the smallest parts possible. And don't beat yourself up about any of it if you miss a drawer or you end up sneaking some of that stuff back in that drawer.
I think that's great advice. And I have to say that quote, I think it's Lao Tzu, who said it, the journey begins with the 1,000 steps begins with the first step. I'm butchering it, but that was, I heard that quote at Epcot when I was in like 9th grade.
Oh,
And
wow.
in the gift shop, I think it was Japan maybe, or China. And I went and bought that quote and I used that in my high school graduation yearbook. That was the quote that I used with my name.
Love
So
that. That's great.
it
That's
was
great. And we're always, you know, we're so hard on ourselves about everything. And so, you know, light, that's the message I want. If I haven't said this already enough times, which I know I have, but I'll just say it once more, it bears repeating. Be gentle with yourself and lighten up. Give yourself messages. I am perfect. I'm perfect just the way I am. My messy house is perfect just the way it is, and it's going to get even better.
Yeah, it's so true that positive self-talk is so important.
You can't do enough. You really can't do enough with that. And that's a skill set that needs to be learned and practice. And then when you get away from it because you forgot about it, go back to it.
It's such a have you heard the mirror exercise? Those in the group here that have been on retreat with me, we did the mirror exercise one night. And you basically, when you go to brush your teeth, you look in the mirror and you have to say, like, I love you, and say positive things to yourself. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and do that. And the next day I asked for people to say, how did it go? And one woman said, like, and trying to say, I love you. She goes, I couldn't say it because I'm not sure I even like me. And I was like, oh my gosh, how much we just beat ourselves up, and it's just so hard. So yes, I use the phrase, give yourself grace, but yeah, lighten up, be kind to yourself.
And on that exercise too, Paula, when I was at that workshop with Louise and Cheryl Richardson, Louise talked about the mirror work, and I'm always looking in the mirror every day and saying, I love you. And Cheryl gave her testimonial around it and said, the first time I did that, I said, I love you. And she said, who are you kidding? That was her backup sentence. And she said, I could not do that. But over time, it became a part of her life, and now it's very much a part of her life. I would, if you wouldn't mind, I just on my phone looked up Louise Hay because I want to give her credit. I was really stumbling along when you asked me who she was.
And I had put you on the spot, so I apologize.
It's okay. No, it's okay. She was an American motivational author and the founder of Hay House. That was her last name. She authored several New Thought self-help books, including the 1984 book, You Can Heal Your Life. And that book was a pamphlet, and it was all about positive thinking and taking control of the things that you can.
Yeah, and now Hay House Publishing does an amazing job of bringing really great authors to this world, and it's amazing. So it's really good. So any other final things as we start to wrap up here? That help people to get in the right space as we approach this new year, so that ideally we can have I want for everybody here to have their best year yet.
I do have one final thought. It's what you and I started with before we went on live. The word no is a complete sentence. How many times do people ask you for things and you just cannot say no, even though you're dying to say no? Anybody relate to that? Because we're Paula with both hands.
Yeah.
Lots of people with hands. I have a little tip for you on that one. A lot of times we say yes when we want to say no because we don't want to disappoint somebody. We don't want them to not like us. We don't want them to think less of us, all that kind of stuff. But I would like all of you this year, 2023, to give yourself permission to honor the fact that no is a complete sentence. And I guarantee you that if you say no, the person will find somebody else to help them out. You don't have to be everything to everybody all the time, because if you're not good to yourself, then you're not good to anybody else. So start with yourself and be able to say that. I have a sentence that I can't tell you how many clients must have on their screensaver by now. And this is one of my favorite things. If somebody asks you, write this down, this is good. If somebody asks you to do something and you don't want to do it, and it doesn't even matter what your reason is, you just don't want to do it. It's all about self-care. The response can be, I'm so sorry, that just won't work out. That just won't work out for me. And then let it land. Don't give a whole bunch more words to buy it and sell it back. And the reason that sentence is brilliant is because it doesn't require any other information. And if people will say to you, like pushy type people, well, what about this? Well, can't you at least do that? Whatever they say, you become the broken record. I'm so sorry, it just won't work out for me.
Simple.
You can say that like 10 times. That's just the world's best sentence.
So
My clients are high achieving people and they don't like to say no and whatever. So put that on your screen, by your phone, put it wherever you need it, and practice that in the mirror. Practice saying that. I'm so sorry, it just won't work out.
Yep.
And if they say why, you don't have to answer that. Just say that same time. It just won't work out. You like that? Doesn't that sound easy?
Yes, it does. And practice, whether it's in the mirror, writing it, but I think speaking it probably helps a little more till you get really comfortable so you don't have to apologize for anything.
That's right. That would be my wish for all of you in the year 2023, that you live your life on your terms and you don't sell out just because you feel like you have to, or because you were trained by a mom or a dad or an aunt or uncle or somebody said you got to be everything to everybody. Can't say no. Don't be lazy. Don't be selfish. Don't be whatever the word is. But the way I define selfish is taking really, really good care of yourself. If you take really, really good care of yourself, you will be a role model to others about how to do that. You will show your children, you will show, your friends just how important it is with self-care. I can't stress that enough. And being a woman who lost my husband rapidly, he got dehydrated. He went in the hospital for an IV, and they said he'd be out of there in 12 hours, and within 24 hours he died. It was just a freak kind of a thing. So I know firsthand how life can be very, very short and unexpected. And so you just have to put yourself first. Put yourself.
That's so true.
You only get this go around here, so make it your best life. That's what I would say. Lighten up, be gentle with yourself, love yourself. Even if it's through gritted teeth and you have to say, I love you, start there. Those teeth.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, and it will truly happen. Yeah. It will truly happen.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, Barbara, this has been so fun for me to be able to chat with you. Again, when we first met, I knew immediately that we just clicked, and this was just so much fun. So if folks want to find you, how do they find you? I
have two websites. The first one is KenyonCoaching.com, just like my last name, KENYON, KenyonCoaching.com. And the second one is WidowsDatingCoach.com. And both of those will link you to me. I might mention, if I may, this book came about, Fire Up Your Life Now, 25 Secrets for Creating the Life You Really Want, because my husband, Alan, and I, 20 years ago, came up with the idea. Well, Alan actually came up with the idea. He said, we ought to send out a free 30-second motivational tip via email every Monday morning and call it Fire Up Your Week. I loved the idea. He was brilliant at writing those things. And every Monday morning, we sent them out. Our subscriber list in the beginning looked like my mom and dad and 2 sisters and maybe 2 friends and maybe 2 clients. So maybe a good, strong 10 people. And they they forwarded on to their friends and whatever. We forwarded on to our clients. Today, 20 years later, I am still sending it out. I have subscribers from many time zones around the world that get it every Monday morning. And because I had received so many emails over the years from people, they said, how did you know I needed to hear that? Just got another one of those this Monday. And I said, because we needed to hear it, that's why. And so as a result of that, this book came around. We took 25 of our best tips and put it in this book. It's a workbook kind of thing. And so if you're into receiving a free motivational tip every Monday morning, go to kenyoncoaching.com and you can enter your name and email address and you're in. And then if you get sick of reading it, you push unsubscribe and you're out. And it's all good. So there's that. And I also offer a free 30-minute breakthrough call. If you're sitting on a goal or a dream or something that you would like to make this be your year to move forward in, I'd be honored to schedule that call with you. There's no strings attached. It's just totally my heart to your heart, helping you get an aha moment. And I hope that at the end of the call, you'll say something like, oh my gosh, I never really thought about it like that. But you don't have to say that either. That's kind of my goal. So you can get a little bit new insight that you didn't have before. And it's my pleasure. I give these calls all the time. It's my favorite thing to do. So if that would be of interest to you, Kenyon Coaching, you can go to that place and request. I think on the Widows Dating Coach, you can do it as well. And you're in.
Well, Barbara, I will give you your book. I have it. I love it. I get your motivational Monday emails. They are terrific and they're brief, which I like too. You know, I get thoughts from the universe from Mike Dooley, but you want those nice, quick, kind of get you and give you some motivation, and they do that, which is just wonderful. And I'll just say, as we close out today, what we do at WH Cornerstone is really about helping people react to, hopefully be prepared for life's curveballs. Or if life curveball hits you and you need to create a plan, we're here to do that. And we do have a specialty in working with widows as well. And helping people navigate their path forward, and from a place of strength and knowledge rather than fear is really important to us. So just a fabulous conversation. And I wish for everyone here, just to have their best year yet, whatever that looks like for you. So I'm going to thank you all for coming.